Good morning or afternoon or evening, Milwaukee Lutheran Church, whatever time of day it is for all y'all. Just wanted to do this via video since it'll be faster and easier, and I feel like more of you might pay attention if it's in a video as opposed to a big wall of text. So for this coming Sunday, after doing some digging and revisiting some things, I've decided to allow congregational singing again. This was influenced by a couple of pieces. One is that with choirs, and I say choirs plural, starting up again, not only our own church choir, but Portland Boy Choir and Tillicum Choir getting going again, as well as all the folks who have done choir concerts before are asking to get started up again. I realize that, it would seem weird for those folks to be singing and we don't get to in church. So that was one of the impetuses, but wasn't necessarily used as the reasoning, if that makes sense. But the other piece was I just hadn't looked at things in a while. I've been kind of waiting for somebody to say, okay, we've approved congregational singing again. And I realize that's never going to happen. Nobody is going to just come out and say, we've decided it's safe. Go for it, because nobody wants to take that responsibility, and I don't blame them. Not throwing anybody under the bus here. I appreciate all the information that has come out from our synod and the CDC and other bodies, and I just finally realized that nobody's going to give you a yes or a no because they don't want to take on that responsibility. But so here's what I looked at. I looked at information from the Center for Congregational Song, and I looked at our CDC recommendations for right now. And essentially what it finally arrived at is that looking at a checklist from the Center for Congregational Song, the best you can get is people advising you that if you can meet these conditions, you're at low risk. And for the most part, we meet all of the low risk categories. Our space is big enough that people can distance, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, anecdotally, we haven't been asking people to show vaccine proof. Anecdotally, I'm relatively confident that almost 100% of our congregation is vaccinated. The Center for Congregational Song recommended more than 70% vaccinated to fit into the low risk category. Also, you have gotten much better at mask usage. And currently all of everybody is saying masks are definitely needed right now, especially with the Delta variant still around. And I was just looking at Clackamas County numbers. They're still not down low yet. They peaked over post Labor Day weekend, and they've kind of hovered up pretty high for a while. So that tells me that we're not out of the woods yet with regards to that, but I suspect that those numbers will begin to go down relatively soon. So mask usage, definitely still important. The other two pieces that were in their assessment were airflow and duration are the two major other concerns. The thing we don't have is great airflow in that building. We don't have the capability of circulating the air in that space on a regular basis because that space is so stinking big. So the thing that makes it great is also an issue, is that we can't really recirculate all that air without some rather pricey changes to our HVAC system. So one of the things that I'll be doing, at least while the weather remains not awful, is opening up the doors to facilitate as much airflow as possible. The other piece, of course, is duration, which I had to laugh because I was looking at it, and they say, up to 30 minutes, that's low risk. 60 minutes plus moves you into the next risk category. I'm like, what about the 30 to 60 range? Because that's where I've been trying to fall into with Sunday morning services. So I think that we're not singing sustained for an entire hour. So that's one where I just feel comfortable that our 45 minutes to 55 minutes that we're in there is okay. It just encourages me to cut down the sermon length. There you go. It's a win-win, right? So all this being said, I am recommending that we move towards congregational singing again. That doesn't mean you have to sing. That's for sure. But that correlates with a couple of other things that I feel like the council needs to remind folks of. So going back to the beginning, mask usage is required, especially, it just is. There's no caveats to it. As I said before, we currently don't have anybody that's going around yelling at people. You might experience, and hopefully experience, some community pressure if you're not wearing a mask. But we've got a preschool that operates during the week, and that preschool is full of unvaccinated children. Additionally, with the Delta variant, I don't know what the breakthrough case rate is right now, but it's probably higher than is being reported. And most of those cases are mild. But I've got friends in Michigan that are super sick right now, and they're fully vaccinated, and they have breakthrough cases of the Delta variant. And one of the proven ways to prevent the spread of the virus in any form is by wearing masks. So that's not going to change. The other piece is I want to just reaffirm that I hope that we're practicing distancing as much as possible on Sunday morning, especially if we're singing, so try to leave 6 to 10 feet between you and the next group of people, right? So obviously your household, your family can sit next to each other, but space out. There's only like 50 or 60 of us showing up at worship on Sunday. We have plenty of room to space out in there. You can't all sit in the back of the church. Sorry. And then a couple of other things. Don't attend if you're unvaccinated. Just in general. And like I said, I'm relatively confident that the vast majority of our congregation is vaccinated. And I'm not going to get into your reasons for being unvaccinated. If it's a health issue, I am so sorry that you have to be in that situation. And I still would say don't attend if you're unvaccinated. And it's sad that you don't get to participate in in-person worship, but it's for your own sake and for the sake of others. The other is, if you have symptoms of what you suspect are a flu or a cold, but in the back of your mind you're thinking it might be COVID, please don't attend until you feel better and get a negative COVID test. The world has changed, right? The day of I'm pretty sick, but I feel good enough to go to church. Those days are over. If you're sick, stay home. There are virtual options available, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well too. And if you've had COVID, please make sure that you follow the CDC guidelines regarding quarantine and reintegration. And additionally, we would appreciate it if you would get a negative COVID test. It will ease your conscience, and it will ease all of our consciences as well too. And you can get one from the pharmacy now. It's like $23. They're easy to do. They're relatively accurate, and you can get a free test as well too if you schedule one through gettested.org or whatever the URL is. One final thing with regards to that. If you get diagnosed with COVID and you realize that you have been to a church event in the last 2 weeks, please let us know. I know that's probably not going to be a comfortable thing for you to do. You might feel like, oh man, I don't want to admit that. But this isn't about blame or anything like that. We just want to make sure that everybody's safe. And so if there has been a COVID exposure at either our worship service or at a church event, we need to know for the safety of our community. Okay. 2 more things to talk about. And I'll keep this not under 10 minutes, but it'll be close. Communion, for the time, we're sticking with the prepackaged cups. I'm not going to debate about that today. Just that's the way it's going to be. I mentioned that earlier, if you're unvaccinated, don't attend. I just want you all to appreciate as well, too, if you noticed our families with young children have not been attending worship, especially with their kids. The reason for that is that their children are not vaccinated, right? And whatever the risk, and maybe some of you are saying, well, but it's a low risk for kids. Whatever the risk, I am not going to argue with a parent at all about a 0.01% chance of their kid getting sick, right? Um, I can empathize, in that regard. I don't have kids, but I can understand why a family would be that vigilant about this. So I just want our community to appreciate that being able to worship in person right now is a privilege. It's a privilege that we need to live up to, right? And I know that wearing masks is not your favorite thing in the world. I know that it seems like we might be being a little bit rules heavy here, but it's a privilege that we're trying to protect, right? Because if we have a COVID outbreak, chances are we'll need to shut down, and for who knows how long. And we want to return to a time at which our families can attend with their kids without fear of infection. And that won't happen until they're able to be vaccinated. So in the meantime, appreciate the privilege of being able to attend in person without risk to your family. And we'll long for and wait for and celebrate the time when we can celebrate as a full community back together again. Which leads me to my last thing. Virtual worship is here to stay. We are working on improving the quality of the live stream on Sunday morning, and I apologize for all the hiccups that we've had. To be fair to us, and by us I mean it's myself and Jill Soley, who has been extremely helpful. So thank you, Jill. It's not an easy road to navigate, despite how much it's being done. The technology is something that has really been fleshed out in the past year, and so it's still bumpy. And also, we've been kind of stringing it together with subpar equipment, which we are in the process of improving. So, live stream is here to stay. It will be better soon. We're starting with the audio quality. I've been waiting on a piece of equipment to get back in stock again, which it is, and it will be here probably in time for next Sunday. But you should hear significant improvements to the audio quality. It may take us a couple of weeks to iron out the bumps in that as well, too. So please be patient with us. And then the next step we'll be taking towards the council is already looking at options is improving the video quality. This is going to be something that's here to stay. And I look forward to being able to point people to our really high quality live stream that you can participate in regardless from where you are. So that's that. So we'll be singing on Sunday. I look forward to seeing all of y'all. To those of you that are worshiping virtually or can't make it to worship, I look forward to the day being able to see you again. But until that day, continue to stay safe and stay healthy. And if there's anything that you need from me or the church in terms of spiritual resources or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy. I would love to serve that role for you. In the meantime, stay safe. Keep your stick on the ice.